Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Yay! It's 10 a.m. and we are here to talk about recession-proofing your 2023. Yeah, the headlines have been a little bit scary. Yes, coming across with all the job cuts. It's earnings season as well. And as these earnings are coming out, we're seeing CEOs talking about inflation that's coming down, but there's still a lot of uncertainty. Just yesterday, the AT&T CEO commented on a conference call that he was on track to cut $6 billion in costs this year. And he went on to say that he expected a challenging macroeconomic environment going forward. So, with that said, I started thinking about CEOs and how they start looking at their company when it's times of recessions or uncertainty, et cetera. And I started thinking about how you can be the CEO of your life, right? Of your finances, of your professional brand. And so, even though we are talking about recession proofing your 2023, I challenge you to also think about how you can be the CEO of your financial and professional life. So, to talk about this, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Jessica Perrone, founder of HerFinIQ. I'm also the show host of Her Money and Investing Show. And today I have a LinkedIn rock star. Yes, I didn't even know a LinkedIn rock star existed. And then I met Karen, and she has 17,000 followers on LinkedIn. She's the founder of She's Linked Up, and she's going to be talking a little bit about building your professional brand. And as the CEO of your life, this is something you want to do to set yourself apart when there is economic uncertainty and there's competition in the markets, right? So she's also the host of the podcast Good Girls Get Rich, and I love this. Listen to this. This is what Karen does in a nutshell. She helps women gain visibility they need to become the wealthy women of influence they feel in their souls. I love that, girl. I love that. So technically, Karen is a LinkedIn strategist with considerable experience working within the corporate sector with small to medium-sized businesses and entrepreneurs. She shares techniques to help her clients get powerful results, establishing them as authority figures in their respective lives. I love that, Karen.
Well, so do I, Jessica. So do I. There's so much synergy around the things that we do together. So I'm so excited to be here with you to do this. And as you guys that are watching this can see, I'm actually in a hotel room right now. This is not like my bedroom with my bed behind me, not me. But this is what we do as entrepreneurs, right? We work where we are.
Yes, yes. And I almost feel like that is also part of setting your brand apart. I mean, aside from, what is visible, which you're going to talk a little bit more about, but like when you're thinking about recession proofing your career, it's really just making things work, like going out there, getting noticed, go to the office, just like do what needs to be done to really stand out, right?
Yep. I mean, you know what, Jessica, there's so much that we don't have control over. So what I like to do is find what we do have control over and make sure that we've maximized that, right? Like let's control our destiny where however we can. And then what's out of our control is out of our control, right? But let's control our destiny where we can. And there's so many places that we can control our destiny, especially now. Like it has gotten even more important to do that, like on the other side of the pandemic and on the other side of the great resignation, reshuffling, whatever they're calling this era in business, whoever they are.
So I love this idea of controlling your destiny because that's sort of where I'm coming from on the financial side, being prepared financially, building that emergency fund so that you can stay in charge of your destiny. So, for example, if you have your debts paid off, if you have your emergency set up, then say there is a layoff, then you have more control over the type of job that you would take in the future because you have that buffer, right? Is that kind of like the destiny that you're talking
It
about?
is. And like we all know that before you talk to anyone, especially like if you guys are watching this, if you're anything like me and you're watching this now, and if you're part of my audience and Jessica's new to you, or if you're part of Jessica's audience and I'm new to you, probably you have already gone over to Google, right? And thrown our name in to see what you can find out, right? That's what I do when I'm like interested, right? So we can control what comes up. Like we can listen, we can't control, like, I'm not saying take this down, add this. I'm saying let's drown out what we don't want them to see with good stuff, right? Let's be, interviewed in newspapers or magazines, or let's make sure we have a LinkedIn profile that tells people what we want them to know about us, right? Like take control of what does come up to the best of your ability. And then, again, then from there, sometimes you just gotta let it go, right? But like, that's just one step. Control your destiny. And, if you're in a situation where you are employed and you're worried about, maybe you're worried about layoffs. I mean, we've heard so much about layoffs this week. You taking control allows you to have a little bit of a leg up on who they let go. For example, I'm old enough to remember, and maybe it's still there, the glass ceiling, right? Like the glass ceiling, women didn't get past the glass ceiling, blah, blah, blah. And I'm kind of like, the glass ceiling's gone, because if you are worried about your job, what you need to do is establish yourself as an expert in what you do, regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur or an employee. Let's say you're an employee and you're in the finance department and you are interviewed on podcasts or go to the Chamber of Commerce meetings or showing up as an authority in what you do. It's going to be a lot harder for that company to lay you off. And if they do, somebody else is going to snap you up.
That's what actually
done the work to show up as an authority.
And that's actually what I was kind of thinking, like just popped into my head when you said that, because if you are an authority, right, in your field, a company not only would want you on board, but wouldn't want you going to the competition, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And if they're threatened by that, they're not the right company. Right? If they're threatened by the fact that you are interviewed in the news or the magazines or interviewed on podcasts, they're not the right company. They should be so thrilled that you're bringing this kind of attention to their company. And smart, savvy companies know this now, right? They're paying attention to their employees' brands. They know that their business brand is stronger when the brand of the employees that work for that business is strong, right? That immediately elevates their business brand. So the companies that are worried about this, well, I don't want to help my people with their LinkedIn profiles because that just means you're going to go get another job. Like that's so like 1999, right? Like it's not what's happening anymore. So you want to, I'm not saying leave your job to go somewhere else. What I am saying though is take control of your own destiny by creating a great brand for yourself that has authority, that has influence, and that really shines a light on why people should care about you. Nobody cares that you need Word and Excel. What they care about is what you can do for them, right? Why you do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, another thing that kind of came to mind is I use LinkedIn for networking. I do even I used to be on Wall Street. I have, as you can see, I have like thousands of Wall Street contacts. And even though most of them are not women, they're not really my target market, I do stay in touch with them, and I do have virtual coffees and I network, and I never know what's going to come out of that. What is some other things people can do and in networking and getting their brand out just in case these layoffs are coming down the pipeline?
Right. Well, here's the thing. I think this should happen regardless. So first and foremost, take control of your brand. And honestly, if you're interested, if you go to LinkedInProfileTips.com, there's a playlist on my YouTube channel to help you with your profile. We're actually going to be coming out with something new in the next couple weeks. Because I know this is going to sound crazy. Like, first of all, for those of you that don't know, Jessica and I are both Jersey girls. So I'm ready to jump into go all Jersey here and be like, I'm so sick of talking to people about their LinkedIn profiles. Like, if you don't know by now that you have to have a great LinkedIn profile, right, then I'm not sure how much I can help you, but I'm still willing to help you. So we're creating a really low ticket, a very affordable package to help you write your profile. We can do it for you, right? But if you want some help doing it, we're going to do that, because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of saying, well, first we got to do your profile. So I want to join the conversation with, okay, you've got your great profile done now, right? And a great profile doesn't mean that like you're a superstar according to LinkedIn. All that really means is you filled in all the blocks, right? We want a profile that really is not like, tell me about you, but make it about me. Like Jessica, for example, I'll use you as an example. Like you can say, I've been in the finance forever and I've got all these, certifications and I do all these things, and you and a million other people do that, right? But if you say, my goal is to help more women over 50 create enough wealth to retire at 60, now you're telling me the same thing, but you're making it about me, right? So write your profile from that perspective. And now we're going to move on, right, to every single week, you should be doing some outreach to your existing network, just reconnecting. Of course, I want you to build your network because your network is so important, but don't forget about the people already there. It may be you met them at a conference a few years ago. Maybe they're your neighbor and they moved, and just say, hey, let's catch up. Or maybe you have no idea why you're connected to them, right? So maybe that conversation is, Jessica, you know what? I see that we're connected here on LinkedIn. I'm not sure how we even got connected in the first place, but I really love the stuff you have in your profile. I'd love to learn more about you.
Yeah,
Right?
I love that.
I don't want you to do this times 100. I want you to do this times 2 or 3 every week. And don't
Yes.
feel like you're brushing your teeth. Like it happens every week, no matter what. And when you do that, now your calendar is getting filled with calls that are not, hey, I'm Karen, give me your credit card. It's more, I'm Karen, here's what I do. Who do you know? Right?
Yes.
Now you're getting warm introductions, and now your calendar is getting filled up with those introductions. And that is where the wealth is in this world. It's in the people. And it's only getting more and more so, I feel like, as time goes on.
I agree. And it's kind of funny. That's kind of what happened between you and I, right?
Yeah.
We met at a networking event and we just had a call and we're just like, how can we help each other? And I feel like that is the type of conversation that you can have with your LinkedIn contacts as well.
And it takes a little courage. I'm going to say it shouldn't take courage, but it does sometimes because like people keep asking me for scripts and I'm like, I am not giving you a script. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to be authentic. I don't know where you met them. I don't know if it's your brother or your cousin or your neighbor, right? Like so it's really just about authentically reaching out and saying, I'd love to hear what you've been up to. I see you change jobs. I'd love to hear about that. Right? Like genuinely be curious and be supportive to them as well. Right?
Yes.
Hopefully you can make an introduction to them at the same time. And I don't know, I would love to know what your experience is with this, Jessica. I can tell you, like, even 5 years ago, but surely 10 years ago, we'll use Twitter as an example. I have a lot of Twitter followers and I used Twitter a lot 10 years ago, 10 years ago. And I got a lot of business from Twitter. I don't get business from Twitter as much anymore because it's so noisy that it's kind of, people are done. And I think the pandemic kind of put us over the noise edge with the online marketing, right? Now we're like, okay, it accelerated what maybe would have happened anyway. Now it's like, so many people are just barraging DMs and messages and posts
and bots, right? And bots, right?
Bots and AI is all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like to me, it makes what we're talking about even more important.
Yeah. And I also feel that even interacting with posts, not only posting, but interacting with posts can create visibility as well.
Yes.
What are some tricks that you've sort of, seen here,
Yeah, well, there are some people that have more patience than I do, that have done studies on all of this stuff, right? Because LinkedIn's algorithm there's no piece of paper that says, and here's exactly how this works, right? But one of the things that came out of a study that I recently read, and if somebody wants to remind me in the chat below, I could link to it when we're done with this. It talked about the fact that if you have more than one post in a day that you've posted, it actually reduces the visibility of both of them. So the good news is there's nobody saying post. You don't stress. You don't have to post a million times. You can see I don't post a million times. I post a few times a week. I try not to post more than twice in a day. I posted twice in a day today because I shared about this event and then I shared this link when it went live. And hopefully I don't get dinged for it. But again, dinged by who, right? But the point is, be authentic. Don't think you have to create a ton of stuff, but create some stuff that will hook people. a little bit, right? That will hook people a little bit. You can certainly we're on LinkedIn, right? This isn't Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. It's okay. You're a bit like you're expected to be here promoting your business, right? LinkedIn is a business to business platform. So I'm not saying promote, but I am saying it's okay to talk about your products and services here. It's, keeping in mind what we're doing is showcasing the brand of you. It's not really the place to showcase your business as much as it is to showcase why you're amazing. So create some mix of content that, that speaks to that. And also think about your use of it. Like, for example, my podcast, we just released episode 222 this week, which is crazy to me. And it was actually, you guys, if you're listening to this, you should check it out because it was the third of a 3-part series that I did on just the process that's behind everything that I do. But if I just drop a link to that on LinkedIn, I mean, are you really going to scroll through LinkedIn and go, oh, wow, this sounds cool, I'm going to go listen to Karen's podcast? Like, you're probably not going to do that. So what I try to do, and again, I'm consistently inconsistent with this.
I love that.
I create little like promo videos that are a minute long, and I'll be like, hey, this week on the show, you're going to love it. I talk about this, and this. Don't miss by around minute 15. That's where you want to have your pen out, blah, blah, blah. And if that's intriguing to them, then they might go, let me save that on my iPhone. Let me go grab that and save it to listen to while I'm taking a ride later. Right. So again, just thinking about, it's really about connecting human to human. And as a human, what would you do with that piece of content? And I feel like I'm rambling, but I want to say one more thing about this. And it may be true that you have a piece of content that could change somebody's life, but they don't know that yet.
Yes.
So like when people send me, you've got to watch my webinar, and I don't know them, I'm not watching your webinar. I don't know you. Right? I'm not taking the time to do that. You've got to, it's kind of like dating, right? You've got to buy coffee first, right? Like, I don't know you well enough to invest a half an hour in watching your stuff. I don't care how good it is. And even people that work, like I have a program that I run, even people in my program, sometimes I have to remind them, like bring them back on course and go, yeah, but they don't know you. They're not, I know that it's great. I know that would be great for them, but they don't know you. They're not watching it. I don't care what you say to them.
Yes. And now that you brought up like the podcast and whatnot, like furthering your education, investing in yourself. So a big concept that I have for women in general is, what is the return on my investment on everything, whether it is going out for drinks and spending money, if you're trying to save money, like that is a big concept that I talk about. And so I kind of feel like it's twofold. If you're listening to podcasts, if you're furthering yourself, right, you're investing time is money in yourself, in your brand, etc. But also I feel like if you are listening to podcasts, then you're not spending money. Like you're not out spending money as well. And as the CEO of your life and you're trying to cut costs, right? Having that sort of mental change too, okay, I'm starting to invest in myself. I'm investing time in myself. And I'm not talking about clothes either, because I will tell you, I am resourceful and frugal as all heck when it comes to clothing, but I look like $1 million, right? And I feel that if you are investing in yourself, do it career-wise and education-wise, build that brand. But you don't need to spend a lot of money on appearances. You can be authentically, I love that, authentically yourself. So what would you say is like the number one like investment a woman can make in her career? Like if there's like, okay, top 3. How about this?
Here's the thing. I think what I see, and I'm going to generalize this for women. And listen, by the way, I work with men as well. I just think women don't shine a light on their themselves enough. And I'm here to do that, to help them do that. Right. But I think that we are notoriously not great at putting our own oxygen masks on first. Right. So, and that it's a lot easier for us to spend money on our kids, an insane amount of money on our kids' soccer cleats than it is on something for ourselves. So I would say first and foremost, invest in yourself, invest in a great coach, invest in like time is money, right? So yes, there's nothing I could teach you or Jessica could teach you that you can't find somewhere on YouTube, right? But I have already done all those hours on YouTube. right? Like pay somebody that's already done that work and then invest that time into into getting new and getting clients, right? So as women, we're really good at the busy work. We're really good at, we'll figure this out. I got this. I'll figure it out. Don't let other people help you. Invest to get some help from other people so that you can fast track your success, because that will make a difference, especially if that will surround you with other women that are doing the same thing and that can continue to lift you up. So I would say first and foremost, do not think you have to do it yourself. Whether, and I know that there's some like masterminds and things like that are free. I'm not knocking all that stuff, but here's what I do know. I do know that there's all kinds of opinions out there, right? And if you go into a free Facebook group, there might be some people in there that are amazing, but there's also a lot of people in there that are going to just shoot you down and going to say, why would you do this? And why would you do that? And don't do that. Like, find a great coach and listen to your great coach and drown out the rest of the world.
I love that, because even in personal finance, you can have all these different types of articles out there. And also, I also find that women are apprehensive when they start talking about finances, and whether it's personal finance, whether it's investing, and there's so many different ways to build wealth. And there's a whole sort of process of doing that, just like there's the process of building your brand. And yes, you can go out there and you can try to piece everything together. But when you have professionals like yourself and myself that have put together these comprehensive curriculums, and like my curriculum makes finance fun. Like I don't know if you can tell, like with this energy, I don't make anything fun, right? I'm totally boring. I'm like an econ professor, right? No, just joking, right? You can tell. Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah,
but,
a little bit.
But yes, I totally agree. It's nice to have someone that has done this, that has been there, and can sort of hold your hand and walk you through the process so that you can get through it faster.
Yeah.
Sure.
And here's the other thing, Jessica, and this is a little controversial, but we hear all these people too talking about like, don't borrow, don't do that. And maybe maybe you're not going to like this statement, but people go into serious freaking debt for their college degrees and then don't use them.
Yes.
And then they want to pay $10,000 for a coaching program, and they can take out a 0% financing card and pay it over 6 months. And they don't want to do it because they don't want the debt. Do you know what I mean? Like, so there's good debt and there's bad debt. And Jessica can help you with that, but understand that you're willing to pay $50,000 a year to put your kid through college, $50,000 a year to put yourself through college or whatever you're doing. And then you balk at $10,000 or even $50,000 for a good coach, right? Like, this is where you will, like, you get what you put into it, what you invested in, right? And I can tell you, there was a quote I saw on Facebook the other day by somebody that I know really well. And she basically said something like, comments from somebody that bought my $100 thing. I don't know if I got it. I can't log in, blah, 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 blah. Like this whole long listing. Comments from somebody that bought my $100,000 coaching package. Okay, we're good. You know what I mean? Like, people, like when you invest at a higher level, they're good, and they're down to do the work.
Yes.
Right. There's throwaway. I'm almost at this point, I almost feel like thousands of dollars is almost throwaway money now, and you're not doing the work. When you invest, you do the work, and then that's where you get the returns. I can't even tell you, this would probably stress you out, the amount of money that I have spent on courses that are in my hard drive that I've probably never watched half of them,
yes.
But I think that's changing. What you're seeing is more and more courses where people are actually helping you. Right? You actually get support. You actually get to create a plan, not just watch my videos and do what I say.
Yes.
And it costs more money, but it's worth it because you're getting results faster.
Yeah. And I actually talk about good debt versus bad debt in my before investing class. And good debt is also technically when you make investments in yourself career-wise, because you get a return on that, as opposed to bad debt, which is interest on your credit cards, right? Which is another thing you want to pay off, in preparation for a recession. So I do agree with you about investing in yourself when there is a return on that investment. Absolutely. The whole college thing is controversial. Absolutely.
And my kids went to college. I'm not saying don't go to college. I'm saying you need to look at it the same way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Which goes back to what is the return on my investment? And I really have a hard time watching people go to spend a lot of money on education for careers that don't have a return. Like they'll never get a return on that investment. So for and this is the time we're getting, my daughter is getting her college applications back. How do you how would you propose to someone, going to school and sort of balancing the cost of school versus the career they're choosing? To me, I'm like, look at what the salaries are available, right? For those career, as a junior, as management, et cetera. Where is the projectile on that career, and where's the earning capacity on that career as well? What are there anything else that kind of comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly way more your expertise than mine. But I will say, since we're talking about college, that if you go through college building out the same brand I want you to build as an employee, right? Create your LinkedIn profile when you're a freshman and say, I'm a freshman at Rutgers, whatever it is, right? And talk about what you're doing, talk about your coursework, and then write recommendations for your professors. Ask for recommendations if you're a writer on the school newspaper, right? When you graduate, if you have 4 years of recommendations on LinkedIn and you've written recommendations, and maybe you've written a white paper for something, or you've written a term paper for something that you can turn into a blog post, right? Like when you graduate, you are 10 steps above everybody else looking for that same job.
I have something funny to tell you, Karen.
All right, I'm
talking
listening.
about recommendations. Like that was something big that I did like my whole career. And I have it hanging on my wall actually, and I have it framed. This is the first letter. It's typed on a typewriter. I don't know if you can see it. This is the first letter of recommendation I got. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This is from my manager at Eaton Park Restaurant, where I worked the midnight shift to save money for college. And, this, was the beginning of what you're saying, which is building your brand and like getting those recommendations, because LinkedIn, those recommendations are those old typewriter recommendations, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And it's such a powerful, confident thing. If you're going for a job and they say, can you give me some references? And you say, well, I absolutely will. I'll send those to you later. But you can also go on over to my LinkedIn profile, because there's like 20 or 30 recommendations there. And feel free to click right through to any of those and reach out to any of those people if you want to speak to them about a reference for me. That is a confident, powerful thing to say, whether you're a kid or an adult, right? Or a grown-up, whether you're in college or not. So it was funny. I did a talk at Rutgers actually for their graduate program, and I was supposed to be talking about social media in general, and they just kept asking me questions about LinkedIn. So I looked at the person that hired me and I'm like, can I just shift this to all LinkedIn? And she's like, absolutely. And I'm like, we just did. And they were like soaking it up because they're not hearing this, right? Like they didn't even hire me to come in and just talk about LinkedIn. They're like, and I'm like, you hire me to talk about Twitter, I'm going to talk about Twitter, right? But like they were asking me all these other questions and we kept focusing there. So, and I didn't want to not be responsive to the people that hired me, right? They might've had a reason that they wanted people. That's why I kind of asked, but it's not, people aren't talking about it enough. They're not talking about starting to build your brand they say things like don't put your like drinking party pictures on Facebook because they're on there forever. So we're warning our teenagers about that, but we're not helping them build the positive brand that they should be building.
Yes. And I feel like, and we are talking about bringing it like kind of back to circle here on recession-proofing your 2023 career-wise. You can do that with colleagues, people that you work with.
Yes.
When I was in finance, if I had a happy, trading desk head that I worked with, I'd be like, please, review me. If I had like if I had a market data person that I worked with, that I would say, hey, I'm going to review you. Do you mind reviewing me? And so you can sort of start building these recommendations, right, on LinkedIn.
And that is how you're recession-proofing
as well.
That's how you're recession-proofing your career. You are taking control of what you have control over. You're controlling your destiny. And like I said, these are the kinds of things you can be doing and should be doing. Yes. Because there's so many things we can't control. So we can stress about what we can't control, or we can make sure that we have not like tied down and locked up all the things we can control.
Yes. And I love the idea of focusing inward as opposed to outward. Because if you're focusing outward, you're spending money, right? And if you're spending time on LinkedIn and working to improve your brand, then you're not out there, spending money, going out, which in turn allows you to do the couple of things that you need to do if we're heading into a recession, which is pay off your bad debt, that credit card debt, right?
Exactly.
It's about, finding ways to save money, to cut down on the wants in your life.
Right.
And then the third part, which is, just creating that emergency fund so that you have a buffer. You have a buffer in case you are laid off and you need the time, 3 to 6 months to find a new job, right? So if you are focusing inward and really focusing on your virtual brand, then you're not out there spending money. And I love that. It's a win-win, right?
It is. It is. I love that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I hope if you're watching this that you're really taking this seriously, because it is not hard to do. And a lot of times, a lot of the women that I work with have a little bit of an imposter syndrome around all of this,
Oh, yes.
And like, if that's the case, like, we should talk, because I can help you, but we don't realize how good we are sometimes at what we're doing. And I'm not asking you to say, like, it's not, and this is not male bashing, but it's not the men that are coming to me saying, I don't know that I can write this on my, like, we write profiles, right? I don't know that I could put this out there. It's the women that are like, can I really say this? I'm like, you did all this stuff. Like, I didn't make this up. You did all this stuff. You just have to own it. Right. So there's a lot of imposter syndrome out there. And, I suppose there are some really successful women out there that just get referrals on referrals on referrals on referrals, but that's not normally the case, right? Like, normally people are going to Google you and they're going to go on what they see, right? They're going to evaluate what they see. So we almost don't have a choice now. Nobody's going to think you're better than you say you are, right? If you want to have the best clients, you have to show up like you're going to be the best person for them, right? So I think I've talked enough about that, but I think it's just important that it's so normal to have imposter syndrome. As a matter of fact, we have a whole mindset component to our program in my She's LinkedUp program, because so many women come in and their ambitions are up here. Like, they have such great ambitions, but their energy's here. I need to bring their energy up to match their ambitions. So their vibe is high, and then they're vibing at this high vibe. And that's where the magic happens, right? So it's common. I'm telling you that because it's common to have imposter syndrome, but you have to overcome it.
And I find that men have no problem sort of like telling the truth, but like making it bigger than it actually was. Like, right. I found, like, the more and more, like, I've always worked with very successful men, being one of the few women on a trading desk, I sort of like see what you're talking about with the imposter syndrome for women. And like, the guys, they're just like, it's how big was the fish, right? It's the fish was actually this big, but they're saying it's like this big. And women are like, oh, was it that big? I need to do it by the centimeter, how many inches big it was.
Well, there was a study that was recently done, maybe a year ago, that said if there's a job out there, a job description out there, right? An application for a job out there, and there's 10 requirements. A man will apply for that job if he's got 4 of those 10 requirements. A woman will not respond to that job unless she has 10 or 12 of those requirements.
Oh,
like, we're like, oh no, we can't do it because I don't have this. They're asking for these 3 things, and men will be like, no, I can do this stuff. I'll learn the rest of it, right? But women are like, no, I'm not qualified yet. Like
that, that just brought up an idea though. Like, so I used to do a lot of hiring for my company and talk to a lot of candidates. And when you said that, I was like, oh, so maybe that's what HR needs to do to attract more women candidates, is to not have as many requirements.
Well, that's exactly right, Jessica. I think I have a podcast about this somewhere. There's a lot of things you can talk about. We don't realize how like the norm of what we've been doing all these years, how it is not supportive of women in these roles. Right. And if you Google, I did a podcast episode for this, Jessica, and I drowned myself in studies on it because I was like, this is so interesting.
Oh my God.
Just so many things about how you describe it. And like you said, you can, instead of saying you need to have these 4 things to have this, instead say you have to accomplish this. Right. So women are good at accomplishing things, but maybe don't have these 4 things. Right. So it's not a matter of changing it. It's a matter of shifting it, right? Shifting it and how you say things that will help some of these companies employ more brilliant women.
So you, as a woman applying for these positions, would you say, like, even if you have 4 and you think it's a neat company, it's a neat position, you think you could do really well, apply for it? Is that sort of?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know that. I would say that, but I mean, I don't see why not. If you think you can do the job, then yeah, say, listen, I've got 4 of these things. And if you're doing it from LinkedIn, they're going to see this great, beautiful LinkedIn profile that we've already established you're going to have, right? So it's going to give you that leg up, and then tell them, like, be honest and say, listen, don't underestimate things like I was president of the PTA, because that means that people had confidence in you, right? So you can say, I had no idea what I was doing, but we built a new wing on the school with the funds we raised. Like, talk about those things, right? Like, I had no idea. I've never done it before in my life. So I'm confident that I can accomplish what you want accomplished. And you don't have to say, don't go in there and say, I don't have these 6 things. Like, you don't do that.
Yeah.
Right? If you think you can do the job, then yes, apply for the job.
That's so interesting that you talk about that, Karen, because, I originally started HerFinIQ because I was like, there's so many stay-at-home moms. They're so smart. Of course, they want to know about investing and how to invest, right? So that was sort of where I came from. That was the angle I came from. But then I started, and as I go through this whole process, and as I'm nearing the age of all my kids and an empty nester, I hear more and more women saying, "Oh, I want to go back into the workforce," right? And they're like, "But I've been out of it. I've been out of it for X amount of years while my kids have been at school." What are some tricks that maybe they could use?
Yeah. I mean, well, first of all, if you, I want you to be authentic. Okay. So as I say, I don't want you to make stuff up. But if you helped your partner's company and did their billing for a lot of years, even if you didn't get paid, or if you were like, if you were on the board of directors of a nonprofit, add those things in there, right? Because those things show that the world sees you as somebody that is credible and is trustworthy. So add that stuff in there, and then don't be afraid. Like, I had a client one time, I wish I saved it because it was so good, but she wrote this beautiful LinkedIn profile talking about her like 10 years as a stay-at-home mom and the billions of things she did, and it was so good. I don't think people are worried about that as much as they used to be anymore. I just don't think they are. But you can always put, Jessica Perrone consulting, if you really feel you need to do that. If you've done anything remotely that fills into that category, whether it was paid or not, right?
I love that.
But I don't want you to make stuff up. I absolutely don't want you to make stuff up. But like, I remember my daughter, when she graduated college and was looking for a job, she had worked for me, but we have different last names. So she used me as a reference, and I don't even know to this day if they did it. I'm like, it's true, right? It's all true, right? I didn't, of course I wanted her to get the job, but she worked for me. I was able to give a legitimate reference, even though I don't know that I paid her occasionally, but it was mostly like to pay her cell phone bill and her, whatever else. Right. So, but it's not like, this is not a resume. It's the brand of you. Right. So it's different. Like, your resume is all about who you used to be. Your LinkedIn profile should be taking what you've done in the past and projecting you into the future as with the brand. So nobody really cares about all, like, the resume piece of it. There's a resume-ish piece of it, and you can list things. And again, when I say don't make stuff up, like, for example, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, like 20 years ago, I owned a company called Infinity Communications Group, and I was the vice president of the company. And I did everything. I hired people, I fired people, I did everything, right? But that's not relevant to what I'm doing now, so I don't even talk about that. And I put vice president of marketing and media because marketing and media are keywords for me, and it speaks to what I'm doing now. So it's not like I didn't really make it up. I did that stuff, but I recreated it in a way that really just kind of really talked about what is relevant to what I'm doing now. Right? Like, another job that I had, I think when I left there, I didn't have the same title that I have in my LinkedIn profile, because the title before was more descriptive to what I do now. So I left that title there. So I don't want you to make stuff up, but it's okay to be creative as long as it's true.
I like that. Okay, so I have a quick question
Yeah.
on my LinkedIn then, of
Mhm.
course. So I was at for 17 years at Trade the News, and that was a really, really long time. And before that, I was at the Boston Globe for 7 years. And when I was going with a coach, a career coach, like going through my resume and whatnot, they recommended to keep that off because it wasn't same industry. And also it made me look older by having so many years of career on there. So when
I
people
think
like
I think the
the age thing, it
I
used
think the
to.
years of us people not knowing how old we are gone. I mean, like there's just so much with social media. Like then they'll see one of your high school friends post something on social media about your 25-year reunion, and everybody knows how old you are, right? So like I think we're not able to hide how old we are as much as we used to be able to. So I don't worry about it. Truthfully, I don't worry about it. To me, that shows you have more experience. So, but what I would do with that, Jessica, is I would look at that Boston Globe experience and think about what you did that prepared you for what you're doing now. Right.
Mm,
Like if you worked at, like, I use this sometimes when I do talks, like if you worked at McDonald's, right? Like and you were the person that when old man Murphy came in and was going to complain about his, fries being cold, they put you there because they knew you had the best customer service attitude. Like talk about that if that's relevant to what you're doing now. Don't talk about French fries, right?
I
Talk
love
about the
that.
customer service
Yeah.
that you did, right? So go back, and what like I said, even with my job, I talk about the sales and marketing piece of it and the lead generation piece, not that I vetted and evaluated and chose health benefits because it's not relevant to what I'm doing now. So take what you did at the Boston Globe, think about what you did there that helped prepare you to be so amazing at what you're doing right now. And I say use it because what you have at whatever age you are and what I have at whatever age I am is experience. And
Yeah.
that is, you can't buy that, right? Like, so I'm a fan of just using it, but I don't
Okay.
think there's a right
Awesome.
or wrong way to do it.
And what about like, you know, how do you, so like, for example, you have a lot of energy, I have a lot of energy, and you're talking about, bringing your clients' energy levels up to their career aspirations, right? How do you, I mean, I know how I do it for myself, but how do you do that for your clients? I'm
Yeah, well,
intrigued.
there's a lot of ways to. I mean, and by the way, they don't all have to have a lot of energy. They just have to have
Okay.
the vibe has to be high. They can't be in
Just
this
the
like
vibe
war mode,
energy.
like where they're complaining about everything and they think it's never going to happen, right? But I think for me, it's music. I actually have. You guys can find it if you want on Spotify. I have a playlist called "Soundtrack of Fabulous," I think, and I just add songs to it. And mine is going to be different than yours, right? Mine might have like I don't know, like it's songs that make me happy, right? So that is on almost every single morning and it kind of gets me in the right vibe. And and I know people, like I've got into other people's because my students do this too. I go into other, and sometimes I'll find songs I'm like, oh, I love that song, I'm gonna add that to mine, right? So but there's a lot of songs that I have on mine that you'd be like, in fact, my kids were over one day and I was listening, like, no, you can leave this on. I'm like, just Michael Jackson's going to be coming on soon. Like this is probably not what you're expecting, And so they were like, the early years or the later years. I'm like, I don't know, whatever. It just made me happy, so I put it on here. So for me, it's music, but it does shift my energy because you know what? As women, we're often caring for our kids or our parents or our partners or whatever, right? So sometimes we do need to have that energy shift. We do need to
Yes.
kind of get in the mode. Like I have a song that I use. I didn't do it this time, but I use Queen, Don't Stop Me Now is like my
Yes.
go-to song before I'm doing a webinar or before I talk on a stage, so for me, it's music to shift my energy. But there's a
For
lot of
me,
ways that people can do it. Sometimes I
yeah.
need to bring my energy down.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes I need to bring my energy down. I've had like a crazy week. So right before this call, I had a call with one of my coaches. We were tapping. Like you guys are familiar with EFT? Like we were tapping. So you should check out Emotional Freedom Technique because my energy was like,
Oh my gosh, I love that. And it's interesting because I am big into exercise. I'm a big believer in exercise, and that's how I stay fit. That's how I keep my
Mhm.
energy level up. But I also am like a natural born, just energetic person.
Mhm.
Kind of like I'm kind of like a Dalmatian puppy. I got a lot of energy. I gotta get out. So I find that I'm up at 5 a.m. and I'm at the gym and I run a 5K every morning. And I almost feel like
Wow.
you said, it brings me down a little bit,
Right.
and then I'm able to focus a little bit more.
Right.
And
But sometimes I
also,
just have to shift into CEO mode. Right. I
yeah,
just shift into CEO mode because you can't live in that mode. You can't live in that mode. There's somebody that calls it backstage days and front stage days, right? Sometimes you're in backstage days and you just want to be tired and cranky, and that's okay. But when you got to turn your camera on, you got to shift right into front
Yes.
stage mode.
Yes. Oh, I like that, front stage and backstage. I do. I love that. I love that. And I feel like not enough emphasis is put on physical, emotional, and mental health. And also, if you think about it, if you are building up your brand and I saw this wonderful post, and I don't know where it is, that your smile is your resume. And I wish I had it. It's something, but anyhow, I shared it on my stream as well. And I find that by creating that energy, right, you are also saving money in the long run, because by being healthy, you don't have to go to the doctor as often. You don't have to buy clothes as often because you're staying, one way. So there's a lot of cost savings that can be done through preventative measures of, keeping a 360 holistic and healthy lifestyle as well. And that's hard to do. Like, even focusing on that can be difficult. But I love how you are also focusing on that in the brand, the personal working brand as well.
Yeah. And you know what, Jessica, I think what you're talking about is even more important now that we're, it's January 2023. And, we are spending more time on Zoom than we ever did before,
Yeah.
So therefore we do have to, there's a physicality to it. There's a physicality to coming to Zoom. If you come to Zoom like this, you're just like, well, there's a physicality to it. So if you're going to be networking, if you're going to be using virtual networking, you need to think about the physicality, even though you're behind a computer.
I love that. I love that. And also, I know that it was sort of like okay to show up like bedhead and whatnot on conference calls, right? During COVID and whatnot. And some of that like translated into current days, but like getting dressed up for conference calls for work, right? Like your brand, again, it's not just social media, but also how you present yourself in the work environment. A lot of companies like Disney are asking people to come back to the office, go to the office, be visible, and really have your physical brand going as well, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And, listen, I'm sure that we've all changed our wardrobes a little bit, that we have our Zoom wardrobe and our, not like I have, yoga pants on, right? Which I wouldn't have if I was walking into a meeting or into an office, but I can because it's my Zoom wardrobe, right? So, but it's all part of your brand, right? It's all part of your brand. And if your brand is casual, and here's the thing too, like I'm a lot older than you. As you get older, like I need more makeup. And so, these kids are like 25 and they're 30 and they're just turning on their camera and they just got out of bed. I'm like, have you ever seen, and she can do it because she's a gazillionaire, but Barbara Corcoran, have you ever seen, like, sometimes she does like videos where she has no makeup on and stuff? Like she can do it because she's a gazillionaire, right? But like most of us can't. Most of us can't pull that off, especially as you get older. So, you may want to have a little bit of a, I have a I'm not obviously not my office, but I have a little mirror here. I keep lip gloss at my desk now. I keep like a couple things at my desk, maybe some hairspray, because I know I might have to just turn my camera on. I worked, again, I'm not there, but like in my office, I worked so that my background, I can just turn my computer on. I don't have to worry about what's in the background. It's always going to be, presentable, which wasn't the case before the pandemic, right? Sometimes I'd have my laptop in my dining room and I wouldn't worry about it but I'm like, you know what? I need to be able to turn my computer on. So I literally furniture shopped and created, like I bought some stuff for the walls behind me so that it looked presentable. So it's not like it doesn't have to look fancy. Like I'm not talking about like go out and buy a Maserati and take pictures of it in front of it, but understand that people are going to judge you for what they see. So how do you want to be seen?
Yeah, but I will back up just a little bit on the makeup aspect. I have a TikTok channel too, where I put out like little funny TikToks for personal finance and one of the aspects that I said was you can spend hundreds of dollars at Sephora a week, but you don't have any money for investing or paying off your credit card. So like, I do want to preface that.
That is true.
Right. So like, there's a difference between having some staples and looking good for the camera and like going out and having like 10 different types of lipsticks and like 10 different, right?
I need to have you more in my life more, Jessica. I need to have you in my life more. Let me tell you, I have, I don't do a lot of that, but I definitely have. I recently am just in this little bit of a transition. So I'm not moving out of my house, but I'm temporarily moving out of my house. And I took like 6 pairs of shoes with me. And I'm like, but there's still 25 pairs that I clearly don't need in the next few months. So why are they here? Like, what did I need? Like, that's probably 7,000, like $1,000 worth of shoes, right? Like, so I get it.
I do have a trick for that. I do
Okay.
have a trick for that. So DSW, you can actually bring in your old shoes for points, which is monies towards new
No
shoes.
way.
Yeah. So all my old shoes I take to DSW.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Do they have to have bought them there? Do they have to have the receipt? Because most of my shoes are
No, you just bring old ones and they just recycle them.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I can teach you all sorts of money tricks. Like, that's just one of them. Like, I am Miss Frugal Fanny, right? Like, yes, I'm like, I can teach
love
you lots
that.
of tricks. You need to start following my TikTok.
I do have to follow your TikTok. I don't think I am following your TikTok.
And this is my handle, HerFinIQ. I'm putting it in the chat, and I also put your in the chat. I also put your LinkedIn there as well. Do you have and your handles? Is it the same?
I'm at Karen Yankovich everywhere.
Okay.
The only one that I'm not is YouTube, but I've got a couple different. I've got at Karen Yankovich just on my main YouTube channel. It's easy to find.
Okay, I'm gonna
especially if you go to LinkedInprofiletips.com, that takes you to a YouTube playlist on my main YouTube channel.
Awesome. So, if people want to find you, best ways would be.
Well, I would say start with the podcast, especially the last 3 weeks, episodes 220, 221, and 222, or like this 3-part series on like credibility, building credibility, right? Credibility, connection, and conversation is really at the heart of everything that I teach. So start with the podcast, Good Girls Get Rich, or you can just go to KarenYankovich.com and there's a podcast link. That's always a great way. But if you want to know more about what it's like to get some help with this, book a call. There's you go to KarenYankovich.com/call, and there's a link at the end of every podcast too, how to get on our calendar. We'll chat and see if it's a fit to support you, and we'll let you know what it looks like.
Awesome. So I put your handle in the chat. I also put in the link to your podcast, and you can also binge watch my show. I swear, like, it was the biggest compliment I could have ever gotten. Someone told me they binge watched my show. They're like,
that's awesome, right?
Yeah, the feeling was amazing. So if you're interested in kind of getting a free taste of how I approach personal finance and investing, check out my show. It is on my website. I'm putting the link here in the chat as well. I also have a free mini course that I have on my website as well, where I talk about the top questions women have when they're starting to invest.
Awesome.
And I also have a bunch of classes on my website as well. So that is how you can sort of get your finances in order and recession proof for 2023. Also check out my blog and also my LinkedIn newsletter. Karen, do you have a LinkedIn newsletter too?
I do.
I love it. So check out both of our LinkedIn.
And LinkedIn is going to be showcasing their newsletters. I don't know if it came out yet, but I just read that this week, that LinkedIn is going to be doing a better job of showcasing our newsletters. So I'm happy to hear that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not the best writer, I will say. Like, writing, and I'm more of a math person. I always have been. And I do find it challenging to write, but I force myself. That's early morning. That's my writing time. Right. So I do put the effort into that. And
I just looked at my LinkedIn profile, and it does feature my newsletter now. It's in the featured section. So awesome. LinkedIn's now featuring our newsletters. So that's cool.
That is fantastic. And again, I think it's just about the effort of putting time into your brand, being the CEO of your brand, right?
Yep. I love it.
So any words in closing, Karen?
Just connect. I hope this was helpful. I had fun doing it. Jessica, there's probably more we should do. And let's, let me know if I can help you.
Yeah.
Do your profile.
Yes.
Let's take that off the table. If it's not done, then honestly, then you're not serious about really having a strong personal brand and wealth. Like I don't want to hear, like, you don't want to hear, like, they don't have money to invest but you have money for makeup. I don't want to hear, I haven't gotten to my LinkedIn profile yet. So I can't do this or this. So
yeah,
do it. Just do it. Let's get it off the table. And I'm happy to help.
Yes. And I was also thinking, I was thinking about your LinkedIn profile, my LinkedIn profile. I feel like we both have super strong LinkedIn profiles. But also look what other people in your industry and company are doing in their LinkedIn profiles as well for ideas, kind of like going into magazine and looking for like fashion ideas, right?
Yep, exactly. And feel free to model mine. You're welcome to do that.
Love it. Love it. Well, Karen, thank you so much for your
It
time.
was
It
so
was
fun to
so,
do this, Jessica.
oh, it
This
was
was
so
great.
much fun. It really
Yeah, this was
was.
great.
And yeah, I guess in closing, have a fantastic day and good luck recession proofing your life in 2023. Take care. Bye
Bye, guys.
now.